Brent Bode from the Marquette Physical Therapy Clinic again here. So we talked about what to do before runs. Now we're going to talk about what kind of things to think about while you're actually running. So you guys made it through everything before the running. Now you get to the point where we actually can talk about running. This is what you're here for. So I want to talk a little bit about running form or running posture. So this goes back to the footwear video that we did a little bit, where we just touched on the idea of what became popular 10 years ago or so as far as barefoot running, making sure that you're landing on your forefoot. These are all things that maybe you've heard about, maybe not, or maybe you just saw somebody running in those 5-finger shoes, or you saw somebody running barefoot. So what I like to emphasize as far as that goes is really how many steps you're taking per minute. That will really help clean up most of the issues that people have as far as where they land on their foot. So what we know is that if people can do about 170 to 180 steps per minute, then you're going to have much less incidence of lower extremity injuries going on. And what that tends to do is that if you're taking shorter and more steps, you tend to land more with your foot underneath your body. And that will just put a lot less forces going through your knee, your foot, and your hip. Versus if people tend to overstride, and this is where the heel strike comes in. If people are overstriding, taking longer strides and less steps, they tend to land with their heel and their leg way out in front of them. So instead of having my patients focus on, am I landing on my middle foot? Am I landing on my toes? Am I landing on my heel? Focus on how many steps you're taking per minute. And you can there's a bunch of metronome apps out there that you can get for your phone that will make a clicking noise and be able to help you work on that. There's also songs that you can get that can get a specific number of beats per minute so you can run along to the beat. Kind of like what I talked about with the footwear, is that if you are currently running at 140 steps a minute, 145 or something like that, don't try to jump to 180 right away. That's a recipe for running into issues. Maybe try to increase by 5 steps per minute a week or something like that, just to begin. So like I said, I just see people running often out of my window when I'm driving or something. They'll be on the sidewalk and they're almost bouncing, and I just imagine that they heard somewhere along the way that they're supposed to land on their toe, and they tried to apply that principle, but they didn't know the whole picture of it. So those people are kind of like bouncing like this, and they're taking not very many steps per minute, and their stride is kind of goofed up, and they're not applying the principles that we're really trying to. So like I said, focus on the number of steps that you're taking per minute. Try to increase it slowly over time. And then beyond that, don't worry about where you're landing on your foot. Something else, the other thing I emphasize as far as running form or posture, and this gets into more, it becomes very individualized. This is something that coming into physical therapy to get more of a specific evaluation can really change what you're going to end up doing as far as your posture when you run. But I'll give you some very general things to look at. This is something that's hard for you to get an idea of yourself unless you're running in a treadmill and you have a mirror on the side of you. But when you're running in general, just like that idea of how your foot is landing more so underneath your body, same thing with what your sternum is doing. Oftentimes you find people either they're kind of more bent over, their sternum is out in front of their hip and their foot, or they're the other way, their pelvis is like leading the way. I tend to think if you just think about having that sternum just a slight forward lean and having it more stacked over the top of your foot, that's a good thing to think about. Like I said, this is very individualized. It's very difficult to do without having somebody else watch you. So it's definitely something that it's good to get more specialized type expert opinion to help with that. Oftentimes people, they notice that their foot turns out to the side more on one side, or they notice that their knee tends to do something funky, or they have flat feet, they try to hold their arches up. I don't really like to have patients think about that as they're running. I think it creates kind of weird compensations, and then you end up with aches and pains in weird places. Those are the kind of things that you're addressing with more of the strength training stuff that we talked about earlier, not while you're running. And if you get stronger in those particular areas, then usually these issues will get better. You won't have to think about, oh, I have to turn my foot and I have to hold my arch up when I'm running. That usually does not end up working out very well for people. Thanks a lot for watching this video. And if you do end up getting hurt and you're trying to implement all these things, obviously we're here for you to help. Please contact us, give us a call, email, and we'll try to figure out the best solution together. It might include an in-clinic visit or a telehealth visit.